How's it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to Bear Down Uncut. For this episode, we're going to be talking about Allen Robinson, whether or not the Bears should trade, tag, or let Allen Robinson walk. My name is Zach and Rimbos. I'm the head editor and video producer here at Bear Down. And today I'm joined with my co-host, Jaylen McClinton. Jaylen, how you doing, man?
Doing good today. Doing good today. I just got finished watching that Browns and Chiefs game. Before that, I was watching the Bulls game. So the Bulls finally got another W. And it joined my weekend. Tomorrow's MLK Day. So that's about it.
Yeah, it was crazy. If you couldn't catch the game, Mahomes obviously went out with what they're fearing is a concussion.
Yeah, he got hit hard.
So he was taking it on pretty odd. Looks like he hit his head on the way down, and that's very unfortunate. But Chad Henne came in and saved their playoff run here. So it'll be the Bills and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. As most people were expecting or predicting, but the Browns really close to a come. I would say, yeah, definitely a comeback and definitely an upset. So that was a really good game to watch. If you couldn't catch it, you should go back and watch the highlights from that game. Wow, that was an aggressive call from Andy Reid or Eric Bieniemy as well on fourth down to have Chad Henne in the backfield, empty set, and throw to Tyreek Hill there. That was awesome. But anyways, let's get going. So Allen Robinson is the main focus for today. Obviously, the unrestricted free agent for the Chicago Bears. Bears are very unlikely to sign him because Allen Robinson does want a ton of money. He wants top 5 receiver money, which, in my opinion, the Bears should have given to him. But he is an unrestricted free agent. So he is looking to either be franchise tagged by the Chicago Bears, or he could walk if Ryan Pace decides not to use the franchise tag, which would be the most absurd thing in the world. But there's a lot of options in the market as well. We've got a lot of questions this offseason. Obviously, with quarterback, that they said that the Bears said in their press conference that would be the main target of the offseason. So we're going to have to follow with that most of the way. But wide receiver is ultimately starting to become a problem. The offensive line is going to look good next year, in my opinion. James Daniels is coming back unless he's traded away this offseason for something. I've seen a couple picks, seen a couple of mock trades. One with James Daniels for Watson, along with a few other players and picks. But anyways, James Daniels is coming back next year. The offensive line obviously had a great second half of the season.
Thinking that Tariq Cohen back was our security blanket on offense, so that's gonna help.
Yep. And Sam Musfer came in, stepped up, had a hell of a year. But let's talk about the wide receivers, because that is going to be an issue. You could be seeing Anthony Miller, not be a Chicago Bear in 2021. He could be on a different team, possibly. Javon Wims likely as well. Riley Ridley really hasn't had a role or a chance to prove himself on the Chicago Bears. So we'll wonder what happens with that as well. But if Anthony Miller is gone as well, the main focus is Allen Robinson, though. If he walks, that's obviously the Bears' number one receiver, and then Darnell Mooney following for this season. But if Allen Robinson walks, the Bears ultimately lose a huge percentage of their offense. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But Jaylen, what are your thoughts for what the Chicago Bears need to do with Allen Robinson in 2021? Do you see them trading him away, tagging and trading him away, or do you see him, Ryan Pace letting him just walk?
I see us tagging him. After we talked about this most through the whole offseason, especially it was the second game of the season with all that trade deadline stuff or trade rumors were going on that he wants to get traded because him and the Bears haven't came close to a contract agreement, and that continued throughout the whole season. He didn't actually be traded, and of course he didn't get traded at the trade deadline. That's something I didn't see happening because he is our best wide receiver. He was our best offensive player last year. And for most of the season, he was our best offensive player this year until David really got it going at the end of the season. But he's been our best receiver for the last 2 years, back to back 1,000 yard back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. And like I said, he deserves the money that he's asking for. A lot of Bears fans want to criticize him, especially at the beginning of the season, because he was getting the ball ripped away, or he wasn't coming down with some of the throws. But I'm not gonna say that's gonna happen with every receiver. It's a lot of receivers that don't drop any balls throughout the whole season, but it's the NFL. There's cornerbacks for reasons. They're there to disrupt the wide receiver, to make plays on the wide receiver, and I don't expect him to catch every single pass that's thrown to him, because the pass could be a bad throw, and he just get his hands on it. But I'm trying to don't expect him to catch every. He had like 100 receptions, and probably like almost 50 more targets than that. So don't expect him to come down with every single target that's thrown his way, because with the quarterback situation we've had, I didn't expect all 150 targets that he got, maybe even more, to be perfect balls. But I definitely think we should tag him, try to come to a contract agreement. I can't see Pace just letting him walk. Pace has never done something like that to allow that a good player to just leave in free agency. You could say he let Adrian walk in, or Bryce, but Bryce had injury concerns, and Adrian Amos was asking for too much money, at that time. So, but with a person like Allen Robinson, who's our best player on offense, I don't think Pace just lets him walk for nothing. I think he tags him and continues to try to get a contract agreement going. I know in the press conference in the XC season that he said that him and Pace, he felt like he had the last 365 days to come to a contract agreement, and that just never happened. And especially with Mitchell, more than likely not coming back, I thought if Mitchell came back, we were probably going to tag him, but he's not coming back. I definitely think we use that tag on Allen Robinson. So that's my opinion. I'm going to tag him and try to come to a contract agreement. I just cannot see us let him walk after when free agency starts.
Yeah, I mean, it would be absurd if you did not tag him and look for a contract or a trade. It would just be like, it would blow every Bears fan mind, because obviously if he walks, he can go wherever he wants, and that's a scary thought for the NFC North. But
because when he was first time, it was between us and the Packers. So imagine Aaron Rodgers, Allen Robinson, and Devontae Adams on the same team.
Yeah, I don't think they have the cap for that. But I think watching that press conference with Allen Robinson, when he said we had the last 365 days. Right then and there, it kind of seemed like you could tell, okay, he's probably gone. But obviously, the motion with Allen Robinson and his contract has to be, trade him away, but you have to tag him first, and you have to wonder. You could you get some pretty good return for Allen Robinson, definitely. So if you were to trade away Allen Robinson, where would you send him to, and what would you want in return? And also, we'll ask this in a few, but I want to know what you think for that trade, what the details of that could be. But we'll talk about maybe some options also, like Kenny Golladay, which we discussed prior to this recording. Maybe an option for the Bears as well if Allen Robinson goes. Obviously, unrestricted free agent for the Lions, and they are both. I think they're both 28 at this point, Allen Robinson and Kenny Golladay. So. Why don't you talk about trade details, what you think the Bears can get in return if they do trade away Allen Robinson, and what do you think is the best position for him? Where would you see him fit best among other teams in this league?
I've actually never thought about this because, like I said, I just don't see him being on a different team or just being like us even like. If we can't come to a contract agreement at all, I can see us trading him, but I doubt that happens, especially if we tag him. So, but if we do trade Allen Robinson, I definitely think we could get like a second round pick. If Stephon Diggs got you a first round pick in the season that I think Stephon Diggs had 1,400 yards receiving yards last year, and that got them a first round pick from the Bills. I definitely think we can get a second round pick. No doubt about that. Probably like a second and maybe like a fourth or fifth for him. But when it comes to a team that fits Allen Robinson, I don't really know what like off the top of my head what if he can go to a team and just click right away, because he's the quarterbacks he's played with have been bad. He's played with Blake Bortles and he's played with Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. Mitchell Trubisky was the best quarterback he's ever played with in his NFL career, and that's saying something. So, no matter the quarterback, Allen Robinson is going to have is gonna play good no matter where he goes, and hopefully he stays in Chicago because whatever quarterback we bring in, he's gonna need a weapon like Allen Robinson to be his security blanket. If it's not him or Tariq, one of the tight ends.
If Deshaun Watson somehow comes to Chicago, which you'd have to work out the details with that trade, which would be probably one of the biggest trades in NFL history. It definitely, I think it definitely would be, especially for what the Texans would want in return for that. You can't just call up Houston and give them some dumb deal. They're just gonna hang up the phone on you.
Yeah, give me your best player for a second round pick and a fifth round pick.
Yeah. So if Deshaun Watson somehow makes his way to Chicago, you'd have to think Allen Robinson's probably playing. Regardless if he's franchise tagged, he probably wants to come back and play a year because Deshaun Watson would walk into the Bears office as one of the best, or no, definitely the best quarterback the Bears have ever had. And that's pretty embarrassing to say, as storied as this franchise is. But it's 100% the best quarterback Allen Robinson has ever had in his career. Like you said, Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky don't even come close to the caliber of a quarterback that we see in Deshaun Watson. Sadly, Mitchell, didn't pan out as we wanted to. Hopefully, he can go on and, get a better, get some better coaches. Period. But if Allen Robinson does want to play one more, you'd have to expect the quarterback's gonna have to be good, or he's really gonna want to stay in Chicago because it's obvious he was very unhappy this season, which really sucks as a Bears fan watching him. He definitely, liking tweets, the social media thing throughout the whole season was a whole situation of itself. But if Deshaun Watson, like I said, makes his way to Chicago, I would see him wanting to play another year here, just because I know that this team would be a lot more competitive, obviously, with Deshaun here, and the schedule does not look good next season. So the Bears have a lot of questions this offseason. But if you're going to trade Allen Robinson, if you franchise tag him and then trade him away, you're 100% going to need at least a second round in return. And with that second round, maybe you ask the question, and Jaylen, I'm going to ask you this. If Allen Robinson walks, if you trade him away, do you go after somebody in free agency, or do you see the Bears drafting somebody high? You know that Ryan Pace likes his receivers as well. Sadly, Kevin White didn't pan out, but he's had some great picks in wide receivers. Anthony Miller was pretty slept on. I'm pretty sure that was third round. And then, of course, Darnell Mooney, second round, yeah. And then Darnell Mooney in the fifth, obviously. Do you see Ryan Pace going for another wide receiver in this draft? It could be very interesting and something to think about.
If he walks, definitely. I see us trying to target a wide receiver with our first round pick if there's no quarterback on the board that we're high on with pick number 20. I haven't really dug into the draft class. I only know like the top guys right now. That's like Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. Rashawn Bateman out of Minnesota. Those are the top three that I've really been looking at. But I know a lot of scouts saying this is another D wide receiver class. But if we let him walk, I definitely think we try to grab a receiver with one of our first picks, so in the first or second. But I also think we look in free agency as well because Anthony Miller, he had a disappointing season last year or this year. His best season was last year where he had over 600 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he also had a very solid rookie season with 400 yards and 7 touchdowns. I just feel like it's, I don't know, it's just something's not clicking with him and Mike Fury. Like he hasn't played as many snaps as he played last season, so. I don't know. Hopefully he can work out next year if he's on the team this year. Javon Williams. I don't even know if he's on the team next year. And Riley Reddy, like you said, he just hasn't got the opportunity to play to show that he can be one of our main guys. But I definitely feel like we go into free agency or the draft. Juju Smith-Schuster's going to be a free agent. Like you said, Kenny Galladay. Marvin Jones Jr. is going to be a free agent as well. But I'm just hoping we can keep Allen Robinson. But those are definitely some names to look at if Allen does walk.
Yeah, and it's going to be a really interesting offseason, obviously. If Allen Robinson does walk, you expect that the Bears are going to have to use one of their picks at least on a wide receiver. sorry, not at least, but at least, in the earlier rounds is what I'm trying to say. And you definitely expect Ryan Pace is going to spend one of his picks on the offensive lineman, hopefully. I don't know what goes on inside his head, but, obviously I think the main thing is getting offensive tackle. And then after that, if you're going to shoot a QB, then you need to do that. If somebody's there sitting there and, you have the opportunity to grab someone, go for it. If not, you have to get a wide receiver. And I don't know what's going to happen this offseason if he decides to make a trade. There's a lot of questions, and next season does not look any easier unless we have Deshaun Watson walk inside the building. So that'll pretty much do it for us, though, guys. It's going to be a very interesting offseason here. Obviously, we don't want Allen Robinson to walk, and it really sucks that this is kind of how it's going down.
That had even come to a video of us talking about that he might be leaving. Because if you would ask me last season, is Allen Robinson going to be on the team in 2021? I would give you an absolute yes. And right now, we don't even know. So,
yeah, they've obviously had a long time to finalize this deal. Ryan Pace, I'm sure, is not, I don't think he's ever pissed off a player, but
I don't think he is.
But I think the culture in the Bears front office is pretty good. Ryan Pace doesn't really disrespect anybody like that. I think Allen Robinson just knows his worth, and the Bears don't have the cap for it. Obviously, like we've said multiple times before, 65% of the salary cap is in the defense. Most of it in that defensive line, and then of course Kyle Fuller,
Eddie Jackson,
and then probably Roquan Smith in the future, and you'd have to assume. The Bears, I don't think they can pay Allen Robinson top 5 wide receiver money. But it really does suck that we even have to, think about him staying on the Bears by franchise tag. Obviously in the past you've seen players like, Le'Veon Bell who were franchise tagged and kind of held out until they were traded.
He set up the whole season that year.
Yep. I don't think Allen Robinson would be the guy to do that. I think he would still play if they couldn't get a trade done before. But I really want to see him back here in 2021. He was, the main source of our offense outside of Montgomery, like you said, when it kicked up second half of the season. Mooney obviously stepped up huge in his role as well. But the Bears have a lot of questions this offseason. The offense is definitely going to have to look to improve. And quarterback is definitely still one of the top targets, but we hope that Allen Robinson stays in 2021. That's the message. If you're watching this, Ryan Pace, extend the man. But that'll pretty much do it for us, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, like, and share with a friend. If you want to find the links to Jaylen and I in our social media, it will be in the description below, as well as probably Chris and Parth. Chris and Parth could not make it today for the podcast, but yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for the support. Keep it up. We're looking for a good 2021 here. Hopefully a lot better than it was in 2020 for everyone. And stay safe and make sure to bear down. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.